and welcome to another episode of Zapped to the Past, where we are doing our Ask the Podcast special. These are questions that were posed to us by our Patreons via our Discord server. You can get access, and if you want to do this for our next one, if you've got questions burning holes in your pockets, then you can come and ask us. You can do that signing up to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Zapped to the Past for about £4.50. It is, whatever that is in your local equivalent. Get the episodes early, ad-free, all that kind of thing. But more importantly, ask us questions, and then we will answer them when we do these specials, which we kind of release in between seasons, because at the moment I do believe we are in between seasons. We've done 1988. 1989 is awaiting in the wings. Who knows what that will bring? But before we get there, we've got questions to ask, questions posed to us by our Patreon. So Graham, are you ready for these questions?
I am ready.
All right, so let's get into them. This is from J Dove. They ask, so while you two were kicking Mercenary again, do that gold medal, it got me to thinking, what beloved C64 games would you not recommend? Instead, substituting a better version or something that built on the foundations of the older game. For example, they loved the C64 version of Bubble Bobble, and we played it well into the 90s, but it would be hard to recommend over the more accurate arcade ports out there on modern platforms. Left of center recommendation, Mercenary, but it was kind of made redundant by Damocles on the Amiga, and the more recent The Outer Wilds. Conversely, I can't think of a better implementation of Impossible Mission or The Train. So what would we think? Do you got anything that C64 games you'd not, that you love that you wouldn't recommend? Or the opposite? I think weren't all the other versions of Whizball crapper? Yeah,
Whizball was de facto the best on the C64 by and especially the music and everything.
Yeah, so I think
Paradroid.
So that's his conversely. Paradroid, yeah. I don't think, was there a better version of Paradroid? It was Heavy Metal Paradroid, wasn't there? Which was I think
Paradroid. The C64 is the version, isn't it? No matter how they tried, they've never beaten it really.
Was the Amiga version any good? I don't know if it.
No, it was all right, but it's not as good as the C64 one. I think. I mean, IK Plus. Arguably better on the Amiga than the C64.
Yes. Yeah.
I think IK Plus was better, and IK Plus was an iteration of Way the Exploding Fist, really, wasn't it? That kind of game. So
yeah, but I mean, we do like IK Plus on the C64, but go play the Amiga version. That was the version we played round at your house a lot, wasn't it? Remember that?
Yeah, and any of the Cinemaware games were, with the exception maybe of Defender of the Crown, but Rocket Ranger and a few of those were better. And I suppose you could argue, although it's not the same game, but Maniac Mansion was great in the C64, but Secret Monkey Island on the Amiga just stomps on it from a great height, doesn't it? I mean, they're great games, but using the same sort of point and click, Secret Monkey Island it's insanely good on the Amiga.
Did that render sort of Maniac Mansion a bit irrelevant then?
Yeah, I think it did a little bit. And Turrican as well. Turrican 2 on the Amiga is outstanding. And it's great on the C64, but on the Amiga it's astonishing. It's an astonishing game on the Amiga, Turrican 2. And the music especially, my gosh. You're up there you're up there in the league of invincibility with the Turrican 2 music by Chris Hulsbeck on the Amiga. It's astonishing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any others. What beloved C64 games? I mean, obviously there's things like Hypersports where you'd probably play the arcade game. But I mean, the C64 version is still pretty decent.
It's still pretty good.
It's still very good.
Ghosts and Goblins. Ghosts and Goblins is always better in the arcade.
Is that one of our beloved C64 games?
Well, I think it is. It's one of those games that people remember fondly. Commando.
They do
remember fondly. That's better in the arcade.
Yeah. I suppose better version of something.
I suppose any of the arcade conversions.
I mean, most arcade conversions are going to be better, aren't they? Most of them, sort of thing. But something that built. Can you think of something built on the foundations? I know you've probably not played The Outer Wilds, but that takes Mercenary sort of builds a bigger sort of world out.
I've not played anything like that. I mean, I am just trying to think of the games that I played on the Amiga that sort of captured my attention for a bit. I can't think what the C64 variation of Syndicate might be or anything like that. I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
I kind of divorced my C64 gaming experience from my Amiga experience. I don't often relate the two together. Weirdly, I know. I think of playing football games, but I think of instantly of the soccer games on the Amiga. I don't tend to think of the C64 games, but if I think of Whizball or anything like that, then I'm on the C64.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, apart from the obvious arcade conversion, I'm trying to think of stuff where the C64 version, where I look at that and go, that is part of something that we play. I mean, there was maybe stuff like we said about Fernandez Must Die, I guess, where you've got Halo. You can see elements of that, the Jeep riding, the two players in the Jeep and things like that. I mean, that kind of...
Well, there's that GTA game, wasn't there? New York City.
What there was. Not sure I call it beloved.
No, it wasn't what you call a great C64 game.
No, it really wasn't.
No, I can't think. I'll maybe come back to. I'll maybe circle back on that because something will pop in my mind. I mean, you got pirates and things like that, haven't you? And that was pretty good on the 64.
I mean, I could probably. I might say something like you wouldn't. I mean, it'd be hard to show someone Pit Stop 2 as much as I love it when you could put Gran Turismo or Forza or Project Gothic Racing and stuff like that in front of them. Yeah. So racing games, I think, and sports games, I think, are a good ones. I really like
fighting games, really.
Fighting games, yeah. So Exploding Fisto, those kind of things, where I really do like some of those games on the C64. It's hard to put, like I said, Pit Stop 2 is a good example.
I've yet to play a game as engaging. I never came across an Amiga variation or a better version of Usagi Yojimbo.
No,
that's unique to the 64 and its implementation, really, that.
Yeah. I mean, there's games like it, sort of in that kind of wandering along and as we've got now and stuff like that. But yeah, not much that sort of does it in that kind of style. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here we go. There you go. That's that one. David Hearn-Writer asks, what are your favourite beverages? Example, if coffee, an Andy Cap, or a Lave Long Black. If cocktails, what's your favourite? A Mercenary Martini or an Eidolon Elixir? Okay. We got favourite beverages? I drink Pepsi Max.
I like a good cup of coffee. I do like a good coffee, and I drink Americano coffees or espresso.
Americano?
Yeah, so Americano is espresso with more water in it.
Okay.
And just as an aside, if I'm in a coffee shop and somebody says, and I ask for an Americano, and they say, do you want milk with that? I say, no, I ask for an Americano, because an Americano is a black coffee. It doesn't require milk. And then they say, do you want to leave room for milk? I'm like, no, I don't. Look, let's not talk liquid dispersal here. I don't want your milk.
Keep your milk.
But for cold drinks, I really like sparkling water. How boring is that? But I also, I don't like the diet drinks. I like Coke Zero, though. Weirdly enough, I actually prefer Coke Zero to any other drinks.
I drink pretty much live off Pepsi Max and tea and beer.
Tea, I'll drink tea as well. I mean, you won't be an Englishman if I didn't drink tea. But weirdly, I drink coffee in the day and tea in an evening. I don't ever drink coffee in an evening unless I'm in a restaurant. And then that's just to make sure my eyes are wide awake when I'm driving home.
Also, as well, so you can keep your eyes on those waiters. They have busy fingers.
They do. I have to watch them like hawks. Other than that, I don't drink wine or anything like that. So,
were you ever a cocktail drinker? I have drank cocktails in my time, but I'm not a big cocktail drinker.
I don't drink anymore. But when I did, my favourite cocktail is a tequila sunrise because I really, really, really like tequila. That's the one spirit I really, really like. But good tequila, there's a massive difference between crappy Cuervo Gold and, a really good bottle of Silver Patron or something like that with the more expensive tequilas. But I don't drink any of that anymore. But if I did, that's what I'd have as a tequila sunrise because I do like that.
Okay, there you go. He also asks, what other side-scrolling beat-em-ups, arcade, do you enjoy apart from the awesome final fight that you've mentioned several times in the podcast as a favourite? Example, Growl? Never heard of Growl. Golden Axe, The Punisher, Double Dragon, 64th Street, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I enjoy them all.
I will always have a soft spot for Knights of the Round because we completed it that day.
We smashed in the arcade that day, didn't we?
Yeah, when we did that. So I'll always have a favourite. My favourite of these was always Golden Axe, I think.
Yeah, I like any of those sort of Capcom-y ones. There's loads of them, isn't there? There's Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. There's Aliens versus Predator, I think, and Aliens ones. There
was the thingy ones as well. Was it Tecmo and Team Ninja? There was the Shinobi ones or Ninja.
Yeah, something
became
like that.
Ninja. The ones I think became Ninja Gaiden. Was it Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, I like all of those. I mean, Final Fight is one of the daddies of them, but I also quite like some of the others that came out around the time. There's loads of them though.
Yeah, I was never a massive fan of things like Double Dragon. That really never did it for me, I don't think.
It's all right, but it's not as good as some of the others.
And not Street Fighter, what was it? Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage. That's a great game, that is.
You like Streets of Rage, don't you?
Yeah, especially Streets of Rage 3, or was it 2 or 3, with the later sequels that came out? Really good. But they're basically Final Fight.
Yes.
It's a good opportunity to plug the amazing book, actually, the side-scrolling beat-em-up book. What's it called? I've got it somewhere here.
He's gone off to find the book.
It's called Go Straight from Bitmap Books. It's a massive, massive book. It's look at this. Look. I'll show AD in the camera. You can see it. Weighty tome.
The perspective.
It's literally a beautiful, full color. And I'm not plugging this for plugging its sake. It is an amazing thing, and it's the ultimate guide to side-scrolling beat-em-ups. And it contains really beautiful stills and images, really printed in really an amazing detail of every side-scrolling beat-em-up, arcade, on every platform. It's an ace book. Go and get it because it's brilliant. And I think they're quite limited in print. So if you see one, grab it. They're really good.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, there we go. Roger Dodger asks, after having to play a certain game with an area of North London in the title and the general poor quality of 1988 games, what crap games from previous episodes don't feel so bad now?
Especially after the episode that we've just done. Oh, dear.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's talking about Lee Enfield, isn't he? That's the one he's mentioning.
Must be, yeah.
North London, yeah. I mean, there was Win Bobner. There was a period where this was Infogrames was just pulling out the crap. Lee Enfield was possibly an idea.
So what games don't feel as crap now because of Lee Enfield?
Yeah, all of them.
a lot of those ones from those first ones. I mean, some of the games had really wild ideas in those early ones. You know, we're going back to the old Birdman with his man pants on and all that.
Metabolist and things like Dickie's Diamonds.
Dickie's Diamonds and stuff. And we were berated them for the stupidity of their ideas, not knowing that Lee Enfield and all those other pieces of crap
lurked in our future.
Yeah, what was that game where you was a French kickboxer? What was that one?
Wasn't that Win Bobner?
Is that Win Bobner? Yeah, so Win Bobner, yeah. What was it? That sort of rubbish. Yeah, that came along and sort of, gave the crap of 1986 and 87 the hold my beer kind of approach. Like,
yeah,
goodness
absolutely.
me.
I mean, I look back now sort of thing and say, you know what? I won't mind a game where I have to hold my hands underneath the table and then press the button when a fish might catch my rod. A nice, sedate game of Jack Charlton's Match Fishing doesn't seem so bad now.
No, absolutely. And you know what? A lot of the issues and stupidity in those games, like the canoe simulator and stuff.
Kayak.
A lot of those stupidity in those games, they were innocently kind of just finding what we said at the time, innocently finding their feet in a new computer, new industry, new gaming world. By 1988, they were just producing any old crap. They were just, if it could be put onto a tape, then and it works. And people were dancing their code into games, as we've seen. So.
Yes, they were. Anything went. It was just a wild. It was crazy. Wild West.
Anything went. I mean, prevailing themes aside, where there's been shoot 'em ups and stuff like that, they've been of mixed quality. But when these games come along that are bad, and remember that we've not had anything as low in terms of percentage from Zap as the Alice in Videoland era.
No, there was that and Robobolt, wasn't there?
Robobolt. So they came as 3 and 4, was it? In the low percent. So I don't think we've had anything quite as low as that. But I think what's the lowest we've reached? I think during 1988.
I think 8.
7. I think 7 or 8%.
7 or 8%. I think Lee Enfield I think got 8%.
And there's been a few occasions where we said this didn't deserve even that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of some of the arcade conversions. Even what was that? Prison Break. Do you remember that?
Oh, Jailbreak.
Jailbreak, where you couldn't control it diagonally. You could only go up, down, left, or right.
Yeah.
Just stupid.
Yeah, just ridiculous bad. Well, that other one, the one where you started off on a field of yellow and it just scrolled the screen on same time. What was that one?
Yellow,
just scrolling the screen from left to right and there was just yellow.
Stupid.
And with, that 1943 we've had to look at. Level so short that I blinked and I was on level 7.
Exactly. And yet with the same snooker game's been coming back every year.
Yeah, it's a perennial favourite. It might get its own award.
Unleash the crappy snooker game.
Game you played the most award. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
And
but yeah,
mysteriously it got to the top of the charts in one of its iterations as well.
Steve Davis Snooker was there for months.
Yeah. Honestly.
Terrible.
This seems like a particularly good point, Adrian, to introduce. I don't know if you remember this, but
yes.
Nick James recorded some questions with us way back in episode 100. Now, we didn't use them for episode 100, but it seemed more opportune to put them here. So let's include Nick James's questions right here.
I've got a couple of questions for you guys, if it's going to make it, but it'd be
go
okay.
On,
yeah,
go for it. Absolutely.
Go for it, yeah.
One, how do you guys get time to do this every week? I mean, I've spent hours on this watching crappy videos, writing stuff, and just for one game, and then you're doing 8 or 9, plus you're looking at the singles or you're looking at whatever, and then you've got to edit it and everything else and put it together. It must.
I'm gonna answer that carefully because I don't want to get sacked.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. That's how I wrote a lot of this and did my research. Yeah, enough said about that. Yeah.
I think from my perspective, we split the games, so that's the one thing. So we only have half the game, so we do the big review to half them.
But you both play them though.
We do play everything. Yes, we do play everything. And some of the games are quite in depth. Some like the other week we did that I had to wade through that President is Missing thing.
Right.
Oh, God, you did.
Good Lord.
Fortunately, that didn't work for me. But.
Yeah, I don't think the reviews of that's come out for that just yet, but it didn't. But I had to wade through that. But it is a case of just don't know. I think we've just got better at them I just got better at spotting what this game is immediately. Yeah. So within a few minutes, I can get a full. I kind of I get this, and just being able to I think we've just got better at writing. Just find the bits. We've just got a bit of more of a formula now, and I think I can ratchet through them in a few hours.
And do you sort of do stuff in one take, like when you would come and record? Is it pretty much all done in one take?
Yeah.
Graham, you edit them, don't you? Yeah.
I do. I edit it, but I don't edit much. Very, very minimal content. Things I produce them as in sense that I get rid of the sounds and the noises and the bits and bobs that are extraneous. But the actual content it's as it's spoken.
Yeah, we do 3 sections generally. We have the first lot, the intro to the end of the first part. Take a break. We do the singles thingies one take, and then we do the last lot of games in the out, and it's all one go.
And you do it on a Thursday night, do you?
Yes, every Thursday.
So how many hours per episode?
It takes about 2.5 hours, doesn't it? 3 hours, let's say, with all the breaks and bits and bobs.
From about 7 till 10 we do them.
Cool. Yeah. One that keeps coming up, especially in recent weeks, is keeps saying, they're ripping the kids off. But I suppose I always think, well, maybe it was a two-way street at the time, because when someone made a game, they must have thought, well, they're going to copy it. They're going to get their freeze frame or whatever. They're going to, so maybe they needed to charge 10. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think.
Yeah, you could be right.
I mean, possibly. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of that money was paying for licenses.
Yeah.
So it was. We see all these licensed games. They're always £10 because they've got to pay Konami or Sega or Tecmo or whoever have made the arcade game, so they have to pay for that, and they've got to make some profit on top. Our main bugbear is the fact it's not that we get ports. There's a port in this episode which is very good. It's the quality of them and the fact that they must know,
banging them out,
because they must know they're awful. Because I mean, we knew back then. Zapped knew. People reviewed them and said they were rubbish. So it's not like back then everyone was going, "Oh, these games are amazing." They were crap then. They're crap now. They know they're rubbish, but they're choosing to put out awful, in some ways, sometimes broken garbage and charge a tenner for it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the time, because I'm from sort of your neck of the woods, a bit further down south, like Great Yarmouth way, so with lots of arcades and stuff like that. And even if it was a game I didn't play, when it just come out on a Commodore 64, I'd want it. I'd read the review. It was crap. I'd still want to go either buy it or obtain a copy of it. But I was always it did used to rope me in.
Exactly. Yeah, you wanted that arcade experience in your house. You wanted to be a paperboy and stuff like that. And then you played it. And you went, "Oh, I don't want to be a paperboy. I like
paid
this."
A lot of paperboy on a Commodore 64. I didn't mind it. It was one of those ones. It was sort of like, it's not quite right, but it works.
It's a game that takes place on a quarter of the screen.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the rest?
It's good. Anyway, I'll let you guys crack on, really.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cheers, Nick. AL82 Retro asks, which C64 game or games do you think would benefit from a modern remake or that you would like to see remade?
Ooh, that's quite a good question, actually, that.
Paradroid. I always say it.
Yeah, we said it before, Paradroid. I'm thinking the games that perhaps ought to sit on the more unusual side. So some of the games that we've played, we've gone, actually, that was really good, and it surprised us. The games that have caught us by surprise, I think are the ones that I'd like to, to see a bit more of. It surprises me, actually, that there isn't more modern, maybe there is, you might correct me for this, but there isn't more modern Olympic-style event games like World Games and stuff.
I don't know. To be fair, they're not my cup of tea, but I mean, we've had things, and the most recent ones I can think of are like Sonic and Mario at the Olympics. Yeah,
but I mean, like done in the tradition of Summer Olympics, Summer Games.
There were some, I think. There were some, I think, on the 360. There's probably some recently, but I honestly don't know. The last good ones I can remember of that ilk were the Sega ones, your Virtua Athlete, Decathlete in the arcade, which was fantastic.
But I think, we said it before, for me, I think I'd like to see a more modern take of Usagi Yojimbo, I think.
Well, I was going to say that because you mentioned that. I mean, would something like, because I've not played it, but I think you've played it. It's on my to-play list. That Ghost of Tsushima, is that similar? I mean, obviously, it's not rabbits and stuff, but it's not thingy, but it's that kind of...
Well, there's mini ninjas as well, which is, it's almost, if you got a hybrid of the two, you could almost get away with that.
There was a game on, was it PS1 or PS2, I think, which was Bushido Blade. Well, it was one of the Bushido Blades where you had to... It's like one-hit kills, but you had to bow and you had to show you could start fights or you could be nice to people in this village and stuff. So there were elements of that in that kind of thing. So there have been elements. But, the rabbit-headed and the animal thingy
I think I'd like to see modern remake of. I think Barbarian might deserve a more modern remake. I think maybe in the tradition of that sort of Conan style looking game.
Yeah, I mean the closest you get now is Soul Calibur, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean, but not done that way, not done in that kind of Japanese arcade Soul Calibur way, done in a barbarian way. Lots of thudding and grunting and and more to it, not just one-on-one fighter, but a bit more to it. And maybe Sacred Armor of Antiriad could do with it's got enough epic story behind it to give it. You could make something more of it in a bigger format. And think of what the music might be like for something like that. Thinking of all the orchestral music there's been for these things.
Amazing. I mean, Jade have mentioned it up top as well, sort of thing. But you could The Train.
Yes, actually, that's another one. That was one that really caught us by surprise at how good it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The Train,
very much
Ace of Aces, maybe. And maybe there's probably some games like that.
But I think The Train sort of thing, that sort of traveling across sort of war-torn France. You could imagine that now with like Battlefield 5 visuals and stuff. It could be like bloody hell, it could be incredible.
Absolutely. Dandare 2 and Dandare, maybe the Dandares or something to do with Dandare. It's good character. It's just good characters to have put into a more modern. I don't know, but
maybe.
I'm just trying to think of a game that's really engaged me.
I think if you take a step away from sort of the visual remakes or things like that, there's quite a few that we said would turn into good mobile games.
There's loads of the puzzlers that would.
Yeah, loads of things we've seen going. This is a great puzzle game idea. Just 20 years too early. There's quite a few of them. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a single one. But I know we've said it about quite a few.
That one where you got angled the laser beams round, that would do a good
that Pulse
game.
Warrior.
No, that one, but the one that came before that, the Fused, was it? Or
Brainstorm.
Confusion, was it?
Confusion was really early. Confusion's the one with the sort of
there was one where you had to you had a spinning laser and you had to, it was Gremlin. I can't remember what the game was now.
Oh, Deflector.
Deflector might make a good one.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. There you go. Then he also asked, which C64 game would you like to see turned into a movie? Usagi Yojimbo. I think it's the closest one we've got to a proper narrative.
You're going to get Kung Fu Pandery, though, isn't it? Really, that.
But maybe, yeah. I mean, you could go with Maniac Mansion. You need something with a bit. You need something with a bit of a narrative.
Maybe Defender of the Crown. Oh, that's kind of already is a movie.
the game, the film based on the game, based on the film.
Imagine the Sinbad movie. You sit there with the guy just looking at signs and scratching his head, going, "Which way do I go?"
Yeah,
and then the lip dance.
You could do Law of the West.
Yes, you could maybe make a movie out of that. I suppose it's kind of, there must be westerns that do that though.
The sheriff protecting the town and whatever sort of thing. I mean, you could pull something from it.
To be fair, that Train game again.
Well, it was based on a film, wasn't it?
Oh, well, that's why.
I think it's a Burt Lancaster film.
Oh, that's right. They Stole a Million, maybe something there.
Yeah, weirdly enough, that Stole a Million. Just as an aside, actually, there's a Peaky Blinders game that's come out recently, which is like, look, I watched the trailer for it. And it looks very much like They Stole a Million, weirdly, but you control the Peaky Blinders lot.
I suppose you've got to think of, if to be something to be turned into a movie, it's got to have a lot of compelling characters and stuff going on. So Maniac Mansion and things like that do lend themselves to that kind of thing, where you got characters. So maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think where there's been games that have had characters that have been equally as interesting, but there's not that many. And a lot of the games, they're not directly C64 games turned into movies, but there's a lot of films that, because they were watching a lot of films at the time, a lot of those films tropes of the time made it into those games. So Sacred Armor of Antiriad is a classic example of lots of different bits of fantasy film rolled into that game at the beginning. So
I mean, I suppose you could do something like you could do something interesting with something like Coronis Rift.
Yeah, or Rescue of Fractalis.
Yeah, thinking Coronis Rift, like our hero could be exploring an abandoned thingy and finding stuff and finding civilization and things open up from there and what have you, and moving from there. Could be quite interesting.
Movies turn to C64 games. If you were going to reverse that, what would you do there?
Modern ones? Could you imagine a Matrix, D64 Matrix game?
I could imagine it. Just give it. Don't give the conversion to the wrong people, as I'm saying there.
Don't give it to Tiertex.
No. Or to anyone in France. No disrespect to anybody in France, but no.
We've not been really impressed with the games coming out of France, and very sorry to say.
No, at least not this moment. But I remember Another World eventually comes from that direction, doesn't it?
And that's true, yeah. I think so,
and
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Delphine,
but no, I think a modern movie turned into a C64 game, just off the top of my head. What would be fun? Fast and Furious, maybe. That would make a good C64 game.
You know what that would be like? It'd be like Talladega.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think that it's a game that could make it onto C64.
It could be, yeah. I mean, yeah, because if you C64 turned into a movie, I think the closest races. The closest I would say is, it's not the thingy, but obviously Great American Cross Country Road Race was Cannonball Run based, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
Cannonball Run. But it's true.
could you do, and one, you don't get many, apart from Captain America, we've not had many superhero games, have we? So
No, not really. Thankfully, no.
could you imagine something like the Hulk or Iron Man, or
Can you imagine what the sprite would look like?
which one, the Hulk?
Well, any of them. The C64. No, I love the C64, but 8-bit Spider-Man.
Spider-Man would be cool.
It's Spider-Man or the Hulk. They're just going to look like sort of squat and blobby. But they could work. They could work it, I suppose.
It could work if you could do sort of a swinging motion. I mean, if you animated it like the cats and something like that, sort of on the tiles and stuff, you could have a nice animated sprite.
True.
Swinging.
So that's all you'd have, but yeah, true.
Yeah, but yeah. There you go. Set Me Guy says, I have a question, a real simple one. Oh, no. Who is who? You're Zusha, aren't you? And I'm Zapped to the Past.
Zusha and you're Zapped to the Past.
I'm Zapped to the Past on the Discord, yeah. Andy Mark's got a load of questions. Which brand of cassette tape was the best and worst for copying C64 games? So the TDK or BASF, wasn't it, we used?
BASF generally, if you were feeling, kind of posh.
Yeah.
Or TDK with the better of the ones.
And if you're feeling really risky, you'd press the Dolby NR button.
Those, I think they're the only brands of tape I bought. Remember Gary buying some really cheap Memorex and really regretting it. They were so brown. The tapes were brown, yellow and brown. It's like a C64. You think they'd lend themselves to that.
Yeah.
All that yellow and brown that have lent themselves to C64 duplication.
You could always tell as well whether the cassettes were, because you could tell by the sort of colour of the tape in the tape. If it was very brown, you knew you were in for a low quality production.
True.
The darker the tape you bought when you actually bought an original. Exactly.
And I used to get a lot of discs off Gary, and they always had a funny sort of smell about them. So it's probably the brown sauce.
That's why these tapes are always brown. Just run them through the brown sauce of a Tron. Did you use high-speed dubbing for copying cassette games, and did it work? I never did, no. I had a backup.
No, I didn't. I used an ordinary duplicate tape thing for a short time before I had a expert cartridge and an action replay, and then I had no need for any of those things.
Yeah, weirdly, if you just copied them in a normal hi-fi, they worked. I remember copying.
Yeah, there's no reason why they shouldn't.
It was Inside Out, that one from the Edge, the 3D one. Mm-hmm. I remember copying that and it worked. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that worked. So no, I never did high-speed dubbing. That's the recipe for disaster.
No.
Did you ever steal your parents, sibling, or friends' music cassettes and copy over them with C64 games?
Yes.
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 I don't know. I don't know what happened to your tape. Flip the inlay over right on.
My sister was well into Christa Berg.
You did a good thing then.
Yeah, so I felt like I was doing this for the short. I say it was for a short time, but even when I was getting expert cartridge games and obviously freeze framing them and then whacking on a tape, if I didn't have a tape to hand, it was a quick bedroom raid. Go in the tape box, grab the one that said Christa Berg, stick the tape over the thing, and that was it.
Yeah,
claimed.
Done. And did you ever get caught playing strip poker or any other saucy games on your C64 by your parents or siblings?
No, I remember showing my dad Ra Lovely, but not knowing really what it was because I got the disc off a mate. And Ra Lovely was on a disc with a few other things. And Ra Lovely, I think, is some kind of German cartoon. There was this really weird Red Riding Hood, like sort of more pervy version, as I recall. I'm remembering it vaguely.
Vaguely.
I remember putting it on, showing my dad, going, well, check this out. This and I remember it had really good music. And then it just, Little Red Riding Hood would come out with massive boobs. I was like, oh, that's awkward.
I got the computer for work purposes, Dad, for help me at school.
I remember my dad looking at me just going, who gave you this? It's my mate Wayne.
Gary.
No, he didn't actually. At this particular time, I was getting a lot of discs off a mate of mine who was a guy called Wayne, who I'm not sure that you ever met him. Really, he was a really kind guy and had a disc drive well early on, but he'd like to keep well below the radar with it. It's like it's like a secret thing that he didn't really talk to people about much.
No, I don't think I did meet him. No, I never got caught. I was very careful. That was when everyone was out time. Jade have asked, so there's something that I just thought when reading ALH's retro tip on how to get high scores and grades. Were there any games you played that worked better using the keyboard over the joystick? I remember finding Karateka playable on the keyboard versus using the joystick, probably because of its Apple II origins. No, I don't think I mean, Thrust obviously, but Thrust was joystick only. I don't think I ever used keyboard if I could avoid it for anything.
No, I don't remember any at the time.
Daley Thompson's Decathlon, because it was port one, so you could use the CTRL and 2 keys for left and right.
I don't remember ever really playing that much. I think Prince of Persia on the C64 was better on keyboard, I think.
Is that a later?
That's the modern one. Yeah, it's a newer one. But other than that, I if it wasn't playable by joystick, it kind of went into a different bucket for me. So I didn't really do keys because I saw keys as a bit of a spectrum thing.
Exactly. That's what I've said in the podcast. Yeah, it's like, we've got a joystick, use it. We've got 2 joystick ports.
Even if I see it as an option, I'm like, keyboard option.
Yeah, exactly. David Hearn asks, how are you both travelling? I think that's doing. After wading through the waves of dog eggs, has the second half of 1988 surprised you?
Not in a good way.
yeah, it's like
it surprised me. Yeah, it actually has surprised me at how bland it got very quickly.
Yes. Not just second half, I think a lot of 1988.
Yeah, that surprised me. I remember entering 1988 because we're now at the end of it, really. But at the beginning, entering it with we had kind of high hopes. I remember at the beginning, if we listen back, we'd probably go in, well, what's in store in 1988? We've got these big games, but, it's 1988 and it's a big year for the C64. Yeah. In reality, it was a year where it was mostly rubbish with a very few big games in there. When they're good, they're really good. But we said that about 1987.
Yeah, the cream at the top is very thin.
Yes.
And
it is.
And the sort of the dregs at the bottom is very thick. This is a cup of tea where your bag split.
Beetle soup. This is it's. I think what clearly, I don't know if it's towards the end. I think there's been a massive jump off point for a lot of people who've gone to 16-bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now, but I don't think that's a talent jump. I don't think they've all the amazing talent for the C64 has left, and they've just left the coders that were left behind kind of thing. I don't think that's the case because there's still a lot of good games that still to come out. What I think is just stick it out kind of mentality is it surprised me how long that's existed and how much prevailed. And really, the whole point of budget releases, for my money, was that there was an outlet for those kind of cheaper games that didn't have quite the same production and didn't have quite the same amount of stuff, but you're not paying the same price, so you can expect what you can expect. When those are, a lot of those have been really good budget games and have surprised me how good they were compared to some of the full price crap. The last episode is a classic example of that. If you compare it to, if you compare episode 107 and the games there, which we've just done, to 106, there's examples out there where we've had really good budget games that have come out.
Yeah, if you think of things like Slime is Mine.
That's it. Slime is Mine.
Poltergeist. There was that other one. That Draconis was all right.
There's quite a few of those. And then
the best version of Sidearms was a budget one.
Yeah, what surprised me with 1988 is how consistent the average to below average has become. It's almost become the norm on the C64, and that is something, because we're getting to that point now where I didn't play every game on the C64, obviously back then. Not only was I picky, but I was also kind of getting them sent to me via the scene. So I got what I got. I didn't get to go and buy and choose them, and I didn't really look at the magazines. I was getting more interested in the demos by this point. So a lot of the games I'm seeing have just surprised me at how dreary and average they are and how little thought's been put into it. That's what surprised me. And from really big producers and big production teams as well. Yeah,
the bell curve has shifted down.
Yes. And if if you want to sort of, if there's a barometer for that, it would be Epix. Epix is your barometer of that.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, how far Epix have fallen. I mean, there's obviously history knows that I don't think they've long for this world at this point, are they?
No, they're on the way out now.
Yeah, there you go. Nick Bungus asks, what are your current jobs, past jobs, especially related to computing? Yep, I'm a lecturer in game design at a university. That's what I do. I've been doing that for 10 years now.
10 years, my God, that's gone by.
Prior to that, nothing to do with games really, but I was just a massive avid games player. I always have been.
Yeah, you was well into it.
So stuff like that. That's what I do, and also make games. When I get the chance, I make games as well. When I can find the bloody time. But it is what it is.
Yeah, you've had some successfully published games out there. So.
I have, yeah. I mean, you can go play Shudder on Steam if you want to go play that. So that's one I made.
Right there, go get it.
It is. If you like your retro style, one stick, one button, it's like it was built for the C64.
It is. Maybe you should do a C64 version.
The original sprites for it, I have the original version, used, what's it called? The sprite editor for the C64 for the sprites.
Huh.
Yeah, so I have that original build somewhere. It's obviously in Unity, but the original build, the prototype for it had sort of C64 circles and sprites.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So I work in educational software. Is the easiest way of describing what I do in terms of that. And prior to that, I also taught video games design for a long time, different levels and different things and all sorts of potted history things. So yeah, that's what we did. What we do.
David Hearn asks, what triggered the podcast? who thought of it? How did you pitch it? How did I pitch it to you? Because I thought of it. Did you think it would get to episode 100 and still be going strong? Triggered it was I was walking. I'm sure I've told the story. I was walking down by the river with my partner, and she said do a podcast, and I said, oh, maybe we should do something like where we play every C64 game and call it Zapped to the Past, pretty much verbatim, and that was that. So then did I pitch it to you with a text, or did I ring you up? I think I rang you up, didn't I?
Yeah.
I think I rang you and said, I've got an idea for a podcast. This is it. And you went, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. And we went, okay. And that was it.
Was it before lockdown or during lockdown?
It was during lockdown, because we started obviously 2021, didn't we?
Wasn't it?
So it was. We started in the second big lockdown. It was November. We started recording in November 2020.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we've got to do something.
Yeah. And we was pretty swiftly on it as well, because you rang, gave the idea, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we were sort of recording shortly after, not in like minutes, but not long before we were giving it the first, the infamous episode 0, where we were trying to sort of find our feet with it a bit.
Yeah. Did we think it was going to get to episode 100? To be fair, no, actually. And the reason for that was maybe because we didn't know how many episodes, maybe one an issue. So we didn't even, there's only 90 issues of Zap or whatever there is. And I don't even know if it goes that far, especially with the later ones, but whatever. But I just thought, well, we might get to episode 90 odd if we do get through them all. But then obviously as we progressed and we realized, some issues had 40 odd games, we were like, oh God. So I don't know. I think the episode 100 started to come into focus as we started going, and then we grew an audience, and people liked us, what we were doing, and that obviously, if you're doing something and I think if it had never taken off, if people hadn't liked it, if we hadn't done much, it might have just tapered off. But people like it, seems to.
Yeah, they seem to like it, and it's plenty of mileage in it. So I remember thinking it was a good idea when you first said it. And once we'd got the format, because it obviously took us a few episodes just to find our feet a little bit with timings of things and how it was going to work. But once we got there actually pretty quick, and then I think what we've done is just iterate over that to the point where we've refined it and refined it and refined it, and not just in terms of the number of games that we review, but in the way we do them and the top pace and the tone.
Yeah.
And it's just I think we've got better at doing it, and which is why it's nice that there's 100 episodes, because over that time, if you listen to episode 1 or 2 compared to the new ones, they're thematically there, but
it's chalk and cheese as to what we're like.
Unlike the C64 games, we've got better at it.
Yeah, that's true. Our bell curve's still on the up. And and I think the other thing is as well, just got a bit more confident and better at talking into a microphone and just doing this kind of thing. You should get better over time. You can listen in those early episodes. We're like, a
bit, but I think being coming from a teaching background helps with that. I think being able to think quickly and vocalize your thoughts. That isn't easy to do that isn't easy. That isn't easy to do. That takes time. And when you're teaching, you do that a lot, especially in the kind of level of teaching, in upper A-level sort of level 3 type, and then towards obviously in degree level, you are thinking on your feet a lot and vocalizing your thoughts a lot and constructing ideas and trying to make them understandable. And that's a key part of what this podcast is. So but that is a skill. That is a skill.
That is true. It is. Dr. Goggles asked, did we have any other ideas before settling on the Zap one? No. Not really, did we? That was it?
No, I think it was pretty much Zap. You came up with Zap to the Past, and that was it. That was it. It was like a moment in Star Wars, isn't it? That's it. The rebels are there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I talked about afterwards, and obviously with Battle of the Pilots is running slowly.
Yeah,
going by.
Yeah, that was just a nice little offshoot that a good little idea on the side, and it's sometimes nice to break up the video game playing into something else.
Yes,
it's like a bit of a rinse, washing your hands, rinse your mind a little bit to just focus on something totally different. And oddly, the same problems occur in those. Crap actors, crappy effects, rubbish stories.
Only 8 sprites on screen.
Only 8 sprites. Yeah, only 8 actors allowed on the screen. They have to multiplex actors.
They get it wrong sometimes, and Martin Lando's bottom half just splits off. Why is Martin Lando flickering like that?
Everyone starts juddering and flickering. David Hasselhoff. It's terrible for multiplexing.
Absolutely. Gets a rasta line through his head. Rasta flicker. That's what his hair is.
That's how he explains his hair, yeah.
But no, yeah, so that was it. And also as well, keeping it slightly retro themed as well was kind of, what we like and stuff. Buzzit says, who came up with your tagline? We play them so you don't have to.
That's actually an organic growth out of an episode, but I couldn't tell you which episode it's in. I'm not sure if it was you or me, but it's in an episode where we say it towards the end of an episode. We're like, oh, for God. We remember that we play these games so you don't have to. It's actually an organic thing, but I couldn't tell you when.
Yeah.
You'd have to go back and listen to all the episodes to find out. They're all online.
They are all online. You can go back and listen. You tell us.
You tell us.
David Hearn Writer asked favourite Street Fighter 2 character. I don't. I'm going to say Ryu, Chun-Li, Dalsim, Blanca.
Blanca, yeah, that's the one I like.
Blanca's the lightning thing.
What's the one with the light? Yeah, what's not Blanca.
Blanca.
What's the one with the little straw hat and the lightning? What's his name?
What, in Street Fighter 2?
That's Mortal Kombat, isn't it? Oh, I don't know.
Street Fighter 2. I'm trying to think of the character Street Fighter 2. Chun-Li,
Flip-flop.
Ryu, Ken, Blanca, Dalsim, E Honda.
E Honda is the sumo guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I like the one that goes Hadouken and throws a fireball.
Is that Ian?
That's Ryu.
Is his name Ian? Oh, Ryu.
That's Ryu.
Ian.
Ian. I am Ian.
I've played a lot of Street Fighter, obviously.
The last time I played Street Fighter 2 properly was when I was probably pre-university. So probably about 92, 93. But yeah, I don't know. And answer to your question, don't know. Ask me a favourite character in IK Plus, and it's the blue one. J-Dove asked, so here's a question inspired by a story, so elsewhere. Stories as follows. Someone back when they were 9 asked their mum for Lead Storm on the C64, and she came back with that game you wanted, which was Red Storm Rising. Which they tried to play, but, bit of a play. we struggled at 50, but imagine trying to play at age 9. So question, did you ever ask for a video game and get a completely different one instead? Did it end up being a stroke of luck or a complete disaster? I had this happen to me back in 86 when I asked for Ghosts and Goblins and I got Druid instead from my mum's boyfriend. That was a stroke of luck because Druid is better than the 64 version of Ghosts and Goblins. Have you ever had that? Have you ever got the wrong game?
No, because I genuinely didn't ask for games off people because of that exact reason. Because I knew they would never get it right, ever. They had no clue what they were doing.
You'd end up with Lee Enfield. Or give my regards to Broad Street. You like Paul McCartney, don't you?
My mum wouldn't know what I was talking about. It'd be an alien language. And my dad was not a person that was going to go and ask for anything like that ever. So no. I would just ask for the money and go and choose it myself. That mercilessly never happened. I can't even think of an area where it came close. So I don't remember ever getting a game bought for me like that or asking for one.
No, I think... not just C64, but I ask for games thingy, but I'm very specific. It's this system. This is the name. Go ask for this.
Yeah.
This is what I want. So no, I generally tend to get the ones that I ask for. There are times when I've given a range of games. Years ago, when I used to get a lot of games, I was playing a lot of games. And I was like, right, these are the games at Christmas. Pick any from these. Inside, I'd be like, pick this one. And often I wouldn't get that one. I'd be like, but I'd be like leaving loads of hints going, I'm really looking forward to playing this. I'm going to forget that. And then I wouldn't. I'd be like, didn't listen to the hints.
No.
And then I'd just go straight to the shop in Boxing Day and buy it because I didn't get it. But no, I don't think I've got anything as bad as Lead Storm and got Red Storm Rising.
No, I'm the same. I can't think of anything where I've asked for something and got completely different to what I asked for.
No, nothing like that. Last penultimate question. Andy Marsh says, "Is Marty Pello a Necron?"
I'm
going to say yes.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet, really.
I think it really is a safe bet.
He's a neck long, isn't he? Not
he's
Necron,
he's a neck long, sort of thing. He's a giant sucking Nectron.
Careful, he's also very, very. He's a tough old bird.
He is, but
he'll punch the pattern off your face.
He will do, and if I hit him in his head, sort of thing, his head goes up like ET's.
Exactly. He sharpens his tongue on the tree bark. He licks trees, and that's how he sharpens his tongue. You be careful with that.
So he can slice through those thick Wotsits that he eats.
He can dart his tongue through a car tire.
And it's been known to do that as well when someone annoys him, sort of thing. What are you doing down there, Pello? Damn you, Pello!
Damn it, Pello!
He does both. He does both front and back from one position because his neck is so long. He can just elongate it to either front or back.
Exactly, and he does the sides as well, the side wall, so you can't get a punch or a picket on it. He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely,
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and then he runs off cackling.
Exactly.
Pello!
Pello! Pop my tyres again, I'll kill you!
I'll get you, Pello!
I'll get you, Pello!
Finally, Set Me Guy. I don't know if I can have an accent this. Could you answer this one? He's thinking about getting a subscription to either new Zapped 64 magazine or Freeze. Do either read them, and do we would prefer them, or why? I don't have time to read either, I'm afraid. I'm so bloody busy. But if you're going to get one, just get them both.
Yeah, I would suggest. In fact, for different reasons. I mean, don't get me wrong. I genuinely don't have a lot of time to read them. However, I've got episodes. I've got issues of them both, and they're both very, very good indeed. Yeah. I think Freeze has been around a long time, and So they've got a lot of, there's a lot of amazing back catalogue you can go through with that as well.
Yeah.
I think Zapped 64 has been around for less time, but I think they've got an Amiga and Crash version of that. They're amazing what they do. And they're really glossy as well. I mean, they are really well produced. If there's nothing else to be said about them, definitely go and check them out on their various websites and stuff. They're worth a good read. Anything like that's a good read. Yeah,
I've got the first few issues of Zap and some of Freeze that I've seen. And they do different things. Obviously, Zap is keeping up with the modern trend of new games and stuff and talking to people. And Freeze is, I think, more aimed at the retro, looking at the sort of games that came out back then, but with some new stuff. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's done some amazing interviews in that Freeze. I'll give him that. Give him his dues. He's got some amazing interviews with some of the developers and that in there. Really, really in-depth stuff. So, and
I think just as well, from a personal point of view, full-time job, playing all these games, writing this podcast, doing everything else I need to. I just don't have time. I just don't.
No, it's not easy to fit everything in. That's for sure.
So no. So the answer to your question is get both.
Well, your cow tipping days are over, aren't they now? So that's saying that off.
They are too true. Yeah, I'm just down. I'm down to sheep now. It's easier and quicker to do.
Yeah. Exactly, and I've stopped cracking paving slabs with coconuts.
Absolutely true, sort of thing.
Or trying.
True. You're still learning to walk like a crab, though, aren't you? You've not given that up yet.
Nearly there. No, I'm a Cancerian. That's just the way it goes.
That's true. Yeah, that's I was thinking about that sort of thing. If someone, do you think it's a really, if you say Cancerian, I suppose it's not so bad, and this kind of sounds quite dark. I mean, with star signs. If someone says to your star sign, if you say, "Man, I'm a Cancer," that doesn't sound very positive, does it?
Well, you don't. You say a Cancerian.
Yeah, okay. You have to sort of qualify. I mean, I just say I'm a Pisces. Anyone else can get away with it. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm thinking, but Cancer's a weird one. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just got an unfortunate name on it. It's got an unfortunate name. They could have named them all a bit nicer.
Well, there's only that one that's got a bad rep.
I don't know why why didn't they call it crab? I mean, everything else is... Makes sense.
Pisces is fish.
Well, it could be, though, couldn't it? Why are these fancy pants names? But at least Pisces sounds fishy. Cancer doesn't sound crabby.
No, it doesn't. Crabby would have been better.
Crabby, yeah.
Clory.
I'd go for that. Clory, crabby.
Clippy.
Any of that. Clippy, nippy.
Nippy.
You could have been nippy, yeah. What star side are you? Nippy.
I'm nippy.
Bit nippy. nippy.
Well, they could. I mean, no, lobsters. No, lobster's not one. It could have been lobster. So.
Yeah, well, if we're going down crustaceans, if we're looking at different crustaceans for star signs, lobster, crab, shrimp, any of them's good.
I mean, because Scorpio is a scorpion.
Yeah, exactly. So they've got, but is there a spider? No, there's no spider. Isn't there a spider? Why isn't there a fly?
You could have been, you could, Arachnia. That would have been a good one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a planet, though. It sounds like you come from a planet, but it should be Arachnia. But look to the inspiration from Battlestar Galactica for this kind of thing. Virgons. Capricorns, Cancerons,
Sagittarians, Pythons, whatever they're called.
There probably is pythons.
Yeah, there probably is. Yeah. Oh, that's more V though, isn't it? The reptiles, the lizards. There we go. Yes. We digress. There you go. That's all our questions. Thank you very much for them. As we said at the thing, if you want to get in with those questions for our next one, whenever we do it, which kind of happen about twice a season, I think, at this rate. So it's all right. You can do that. As I said, join the Patreon, patreon.com/Zapped to the Past, and you can do that. Yeah, so we are in a mid-season break at the moment. We've got 1989 stretching out in front of us. I am not actually going to say what it's going to be like because I don't know just yet. It could be crap.
No,
it could. Who knows what it is? We have to wait and see. I'm not making any false promises at this point. 1988 has taught us anything. So there you go. Yeah. Thanks for the questions. We're going to go and we'll be back very soon, I think, with the start of 1988. So hopefully you'll be enjoying that and we will see you then. You got anything you wish to add, Graham?
No, I think they were a good set of questions. Onwards we go. Let's see what comes out of 1989. Maybe that'll prompt even more questions. But thank you. Always nice to have questions to answer.
It is. So thanks for those and we'll see you again real soon. So bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZappTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.